it might be helpful to talk through on the last thing you said about like for you, you're obviously living in a time where a little bit of a turbulent time for your kind of work, but like, what would the ideal look like? Like, how do you think, what do you think it would look like for an actual like enabling governmental administration to try to look at and do this and help do this type of environmental work?
Wow, that's a great question, because it really takes us down back to first principles. Number one, I really think we have to, we can look at this situation that we're in right now and be like, it's dire. Yes, it is. But that also doesn't mean that there isn't fertility and potential and possibilities and opportunities. And I think there is that out there. Number one, back to you had asked earlier a question about sort of the lay of the land. And I will say, there's a lot of churn. Like, I'm on LinkedIn right now, and it seems like there's actually a lot of hiring. People are also kind of taking advantage of this sudden kind of letting loose of all of these experts, and they're being snapped up. So I know that, and that doesn't mean that everybody's having a wonderful time and that some people are struggling to find work, but I am seeing a lot of jobs, and sometimes churn can oxygenate, that environment. And so I feel like there may be some possible good things that come out of that. So too, I think with people realizing so many ways in which their lives are connected to governance, we may be able to talk to people on a level where we can get some traction on things like, I think the very first thing we need to go back to is a constitution that recognizes full bodily autonomy. Right? And what would that look like? If my body is sacrosanct and you cannot make decisions about my body without my consent, like, that really changes like the legal system, the carceral system, gender relations, marriage models. Like, everything comes back to power and control and freedom and autonomy. And so I feel like, first of all, we need to sort that out, because a lot of people are being treated very poorly in terms of their ability to control their own bodies, whether that is moving through space or going to the bathroom or, dyeing their hair pink. There's people out there who, for some reason, believe that they have control over other human beings. And I think we have got to get to this point where we recognize and respect and honor other people's, personhood. And then once we have that, we have a sense that we can support people. We have the money. We have the infrastructure. We have the capability. Everybody can have healthcare and education and, and housing. And I mean, really handling those basic things, I think, would go a long way. And then from there, we can start talking about, and so as we go along this path, for example, just today, I read the UN was trying to do something about plastics again. And the 4 countries that voted against it were the United States, Russia, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia, because they make money from fossil fuels turning into plastics. It's $1 trillion business, and we don't want. And so what those 4 countries said was, we just need to get better at recycling. Well, no, it's reduce, reuse, recycle. Recycle is last for a reason, because it's not good. It's the last thing you should be doing. The first thing you should be doing is reducing your consumption. And we are in a perfect position to do that, right? I mean, all of the clean energy technologies are fairly mature. We know that they're doing really well. They're employing people. We have life cycle analyses that, show the disparities between the impact of fossil fuels versus clean energy. So I think really it does come back to, we need to deal with this problem where some people out there feel like they deserve to control other people down to what they are putting in their bodies or putting on their bodies, or, how they're maneuvering through time and space. Really basic stuff. And we have got to get rid of that and truly fundamentally support people's ability to live and survive and thrive. And then I think at that point we can start to really work on environmental big picture issues.
Yeah, this makes total sense. One specific thing this reminds me of. So I a couple weeks ago I was in Samoa, and when I was in the capital, actually I had like just landed from the airport and I was taking a shuttle to my hotel, and the person sitting next to me was a gentleman from I believe I am not pronouncing the country correctly, so I almost apologize if I'm not, but from Vanuatu, which is another kind of Pacific Island country. And he actually worked in the plastics department of the main kind of environmental department of the government. And he had come there because they were planning, they had a conference, various Pacific Islands had a conference to basically plan how to go to Geneva and talk about these issues at the UN. So they had this upcoming meeting and they were strategizing how to go about it. It was probably the one that got voted down. So maybe this was all. Yeah.
I'm not sure that I don't know where it went. I won't say this voted down. I'd say voted against. I don't know where it is in the pipeline. I don't know if they get it over. I just know that the 4 countries voted against it.
Okay. Yeah. When you said the U.S. voted against, when you said, I was like, oh no, because some things the U.S. has that full veto over, and I don't know. The UN is complicated.
Security Council, yeah, but I don't think this is Security Council, so I don't think it's an automatic this. But it may be.
Right. But he was talking about the ocean plastic. So like a lot of they're getting these those plastic, like pollution around their waters, and the formation of those giant
islands, yeah.
Those giant, I mean, some of them in some parts of the world are almost as large as whole U.S. states of just plastic, like minefield in the ocean. And they had like recently legalized plastic bags, which was like a big deal in Vanuatu because they sensed that this was contributing to that, because a lot of the stuff and some of the island countries, I think they have unique needs because both, you have all the other countries contributing to their environmental problems, but also, they have less space to put things in landfills. So a lot of the stuff ends up almost more likely getting put out to the ocean. But I wonder, it seems like, I think it's interesting to connect, I think, the environmental work as coming out of a form of body autonomy, like you're saying. It makes sense. It's interesting because I sometimes I view the environment as a type of relationship, and sometimes people will say like it's my body, my choice, and then we'll advocate for things that do prove harmful for the environment, like maybe like applying things or consuming things that are difficult. But it seems like it's a wider relationship system. Or am I off in how you're thinking about it? Or yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think you're on to something. To that example, let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of people are very afraid that someone's going to come in like an environmentalist and be like, no, you're not allowed to have X, Y, and Z. And I mean, I remember talking with somebody back when I still worked at the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. There was this wonderful guy. I ended up becoming good friends with him. Physicist, worked for the government, Quaker, vegan, bicycles everywhere. And he wanted to ban anything over 100 HP, I think. It was like anything over like essentially a 2-stroke engine. And I was like, well, congratulations. You've just invented the largest black market the world has ever known, because just going and banning stuff is not the way to do it. You know what I mean? Like I am a big fan. So when we worked with when we had our nonprofit arm, we were working on plastic straws. And our goal was to actually do the initial research. There's a lot of bullshit out there about plastic straws. And unfortunately, it's really given people who are pro-plastic straws, which is a weird thing, a lot of ammunition, because everybody was just like, oh, turtles are getting them up their nose and ban them. And it really comes back to, we just don't know. Like, we do not know how many straws are out there, and the numbers that people put are wild. And it turns out most of them are actually some 8-year-old. I am not joking. There's an 8-year-old out there who did like a school project and wrote like 8 trillion straws a year, and then everybody just ran with it. So we were trying to get to the bottom of it as ethnographers and find out what were people's relationship with straws. And for example, a lot of people who are disabled are like, I can't use a paper straw. I can't use a metal straw or a glass straw for various reasons. And important to know, So I'm not in favor of just banning things. I am definitely in favor of understanding people's relationships with the object, whether it's a car or a plastic straw or an unsafe sunscreen. Now there's this creepy, they're going against sunscreen now. You know that? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I really wish the government wouldn't tell me what sunscreen to wear. Okay, fair, maybe, I guess. But now they're just like, yeah, slap some beef tallow on my back, and I'm good to go. And so that kind of thing, I guess I personally would be like, okay. I mean, when I'm old, I'm 57, and I've been around doing this work for a long time, like roughly 35 years. And so 1990-ish, 89, California is one of the first places to do motorcycle helmet laws. And my friends in Silicon Valley, many engineers, were libertarians, and they were so upset about this. They were just like, how dare somebody tell me I have to wear a helmet? And I said, well, your brain comes in contact with the asphalt, and somebody's got to scrape you up, and that's kind of unfair to our first responders, or anybody who comes. I mean, what do you want us to do? Like, you don't wear a helmet, we just toss you in the ditch? No, there's a whole complex that kicks in. Ambulance is called, cops have to come and deal with you. You're taken to the hospital. There's a whole ER for you. People are desperately trying to save your life, and your brain is mush because you didn't wear a helmet. These guys were so bonkers about it. Of course, they didn't have any problem with like canceling smoking because they don't like smoking. They were like, oh yeah, it's great that you have to walk 3 miles to have a cigarette, but I shouldn't have to wear a helmet. I do not know what we do as humans with other humans on this particular type of behavior where people just get squirrely about being told what to do. But I do think part of it is positive feedback, positive reinforcement is the only thing that works. And so trying to give people as many choices as you can, like with a toddler, you don't go eat your vegetables or you're going to your room. You say, you can have peas or carrots. Which one do you choose? And you don't let them out without making a choice, and the kids will pick one and then you move on with your life. So offering choices to people, not banning things, keeping it positive, trying to like reinforce things with incentives and rewards. I think this is where we go in a sane world. All right, now we're not in a sane world, but your question was sort of directed at in an ideal world, what would we do? And to me, that's where we would start, is we would start where people are at, and we would not ban things, and we would not be punitive, and we would not yell at people, which most people don't do anyway. That's just an all made up thing. But the plastic straws did get banned, just like you're talking about plastic bags. And plastic bags and straws, yeah, I mean, they're gross. They get everywhere. We probably just don't really need them or don't need as many of them. But honestly, we just don't know. We don't know what the life cycle impacts are all the time. We don't know what their full distribution is. We don't know what the quantity is.
Do remember
we really truly don't know about how they degrade. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of questions still. So
I got actually rear-ended. On my bike. And the car on that road, that car was probably going about 50 to 60, probably about 60 miles an hour. Yeah. And I was in the hospital for 2 days. Luckily, I didn't break a bone. I had a muscular injury in my back that took like a couple months to heal from. But otherwise, I got flown, and I landed headfirst and then rolled on my back. And I like to say that my helmet was in 2 or 3 pieces, so my skull didn't have to be. And in that kind of impact, that's exactly what the helmet should do. The helmet is meant to break apart because that, from the physics side, it dissipates the energy, the impact, we'll say, and not try to use a technical physics term there. But like, so helmet, like I probably would have had a very severe, I would have been dead or had a very severe form of brain cancer, not brain cancer, I'm sorry, of some kind of brain injury. So there you go. Helmets are super important. Wear a helmet.
I mean, wear a helmet. When I horseback ride, when I see people not wearing helmets, it just really like upsets me because I mean, I've fallen off of so many horses. You know what I mean? Like I've been Simone, and you know.
A third story that was going to connect back. So the one was I was talking recently to someone with a woman from Barcelona, and she was talking about from her perspective, and this is a whole complex thing. I'm not an expert on EU policy with regard to any of this, but or Spain or Barcelona in particular, but like from her perspective, she has gotten very frustrated with a lot of the recent legislation around like electric vehicles. And so basically what they're doing is they'll like what she said, and this is all like her account basically, like it's, you can basically, if you have a certain type of gas car, you can basically just get pulled over and now your car is something that they can give you a ticket for. Or, you know, during certain times of day, you can only ride on certain highways if you have an electric vehicle. So like she was like, you know, if I wanted to go from here to there, if I had my original car, like I can't go there, you know, except at night or something. She's like, but I have to go all the way around because the alternate road is like 3 times as far. And she's like, so then I emit more. But anyways, she basically, from her perspective, she's like, they passed the laws, and then every maybe 2 years later, like every couple years, they re-regulate, and they're like, no, this type of electric car is no longer fine. And so she's like, should we just go get a new car? Like, she's like, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that whenever the law changes. And the details of this is one person's perspective. I don't know the details of these laws, but I think the wider theme I was thinking about with this, and this is what you were talking about at the end, is that a stick-based approach, I mean, for a carrot and a stick-based approach, I just don't think works. It leads to people feeling angry, but it also like it disproportionately hurts people who are less well off. Like in that society.
Well, let's take your example, because your example is actually not really a stick. And I mean, they are basically saying, like, you do have choices. You can take the shitty road, which is just, it's still there. I mean, it's a road. Or you can take, it's an incentive, right? She thinks of it as a stick because she doesn't have but it's really an incentive for the electric car. That said, I think what you're getting to a little bit is means testing. And so when we introduce policies and we means test them, so we'll say things like, okay, but you must be making under $40,000 a year, and then we'll give you this grant or with a subsidy or this privilege. When we make people jump through hoops, and because that's what that is, right? Somebody's gonna have to come in and prove not only like I only make 40,000, but we usually go into things like, oh, you don't have like a secret Swiss bank account, you know? And I will give a more relevant environmental example in just a second. But I think when we means test policies, it's kind of the but of policies. We want to have these policies, but we are chicken shit. And so we are going to be like, but we're going to like add in all of these little obstacles and make people like run around. And then in the end, you're going to get a Mississippi situation where like 91% of welfare recipients are denied. I'm not kidding you. And this is several years ago, so I'm sure it's worse. 91 of welfare recipients denied. And Mississippi is, I'm sorry, what? The poorest state in the country. I mean, I think it's even worse than where I live, which is West Virginia. So, you know, unbelievable stuff that they can do with means testing. I'll give you another example from our research. So one thing that we came up with was, and a lot of this is why our research is good and why they don't like it, is because we end up saying things like, give people money, trust people. So a lot of kids don't always spend the summers when school's out at their normal home. They may go to relatives, they may go to summer camp, or they may, you know what I mean? They may stay with grandma on the couch a lot of the time. And what you'll find is whoever they're staying with, their energy costs go up. And so grandma's energy costs, she's got 3 kids now watching TV all day, playing on their Nintendos, whatever. And her energy costs are going up, and she's already on a limited income. So she can't go and say to LIHEAP and say, well, I actually have these kids because they are registered with a school district in a different house. So they are not her residents and they're not in her county or whatever. And then we said, why don't you just do something where you can register them through a summer reading program at the library? And then that we take those kids, and anybody who's in that summer reading program for that summer, they're assigned to this household, this county. And then grandma can take that summer reading program enrollment form to LIHEAP and say, my kids are with me for the summer. Here's my basic proof that she jumped through a hoop. And you've really got a nice win-win situation, right? You know, you've got the kids enrolled in a summer reading program. You have them going to the library, which is going to be cool and comfortable when it's dangerous outside. And you've got grandma getting a subsidy for taking care of the kids, you know, which we want them to do. So we can come up with some of these by going into the communities and like talking to people and observing what they're actually doing in their homes and with their lives and their kin and their family. We can come up with reasonable solutions that don't require a lot of necessarily new money or complicated workarounds. They really are just about reducing the barriers to access for people who really need help.
Mm. Yeah, this makes total sense. I mean, it seems like I could definitely see the value of that. Part of me actually wonders if in my family growing up, if my parents enrolled me in things for similar reasons. I think my mom actually had a somewhat similar circumstance, or related to my parents getting divorced, and we lived in 2 different school districts for a time, and one parent claimed us, yada yada yada. But yeah,